Hello students, hope all of you are keeping well. Welcome back to the chemistry online class. In my previous class, I have started the first chapter, the language of chemistry. And now in this class, we will start the second part of the chapter. So the first topic is chemical equation. What is chemical equation? A chemical equation is the symbolic representation of a chemical reaction using the symbols and formula of the substances involved in the reaction. In simply form, we can say chemical equation is the symbolic representation of chemical reaction. So symbolic representation means it can be in the form of word or it can be in the form of formulas. So here is a example. The chemical reaction can be represented by word equation or chemical equation. So there is two type of chemical equation. First is word equation. In word equation, we give the chemical reaction in words. Like you can see here, carbon plus oxygen, heat, carbon dioxide. So we write in the words, like carbon we write in word, oxygen we write in words, then we give to the heat to carbon and oxygen, then carbon dioxide will produce. So you can see we write in words, that's why it's called the words equation. And the second one is chemical equation. In chemical equation we write the formulas of the element. Same this equation we convert into the chemical equation. Like carbon, you can see we write the formula of the carbon C, and oxygen O2, as we know oxygen is the diatomic molecule, so O2, then heat, then CO2. The formula of carbon dioxide is CO2. So you can see very well in word equation we write the reactants and product in words, and in chemical equation we write in formulas of the element. So there are two type of reaction, word equation and chemical equation. Then the next topic is step involved in writing a chemical equation. When we go to write a chemical equation, so what step we should follow? So there are certain steps. The first step is that write the symbols or the formula of the reactants on the left side with a plus sign between them. We always write the reactants on the left hand side. And when there are two reactants, so we put plus sign between them. You have seen in chemical equation, if you see any chemical equation, you can understand. So this is the first step. We write the reactants on the left hand side, and between two reactants we put plus sign. And the second step is we write the products on the right hand side. Similarly, we write the symbols or formulas of the product on the right hand side, and we put a plus sign between the products, and we put the arrow between the reactant side and the product side. Between reactant and products there is a arrow. You have seen in many chemical reactions, so always there is a arrow between reactant and the product, and represent the reactant and product in their molecular forms. So this is the last step. After that, when we write the equation, we represent the reactant and product into their molecular forms. So after that, example of chemical reactions. I have given you the one example of chemical reaction. In your book, there are so many example of chemical reactions. So you can go through it, and I am giving you the one example so that you can understand how we write the chemical equation. In this example, you can see CuSO4 plus twice NaOH. Then CuOH whole twice plus Na2SO4. What is the name of CuSO4? Copper sulfate plus sodium hydroxide. These two the reactants. So C, the plus sign between them, and these reactants in the right hand side. And then we put the arrow between the reactant and the product, and then copper hydroxide and sodium sulfate will form, and in between the product we also put the plus sign. You can see in this reaction. So in this way we write the chemical reactions. So you see we follow all the rules to write this chemical reaction, and we always write chemical reaction in this form. In chemical reactions there are one reactant and two or more products. There are so many conditions in chemical reaction. There can be one reactant and product is two or more. then 2 reactants, 1 product, 2 reactants, 2 products, 2 reactants and 3 or more products. So we see one by one them and you will understand all this. So first we take the example of 1 reactant and 2 or more products. It means reactant is 1 and product will be 2 or more. So reactant is 1 here and product may be 2 or more. So we take the example of calcium carbonate. The formula of calcium carbonate is CaCO3 and it will form CaO, calcium oxide. The common name of calcium oxide is quicklime. You have also studied about this. So the common names are very important. Calcium carbonate, we know the common name is marble, and the calcium oxide, the common name is quicklime plus carbon dioxide. So you can see in this reaction the reactant is 1 and the product is 2. Then we come to the next condition, 2 reactants and 1 product. So you can see there is 2 reactants, ammonia plus hydrochloric acid. Then ammonium chloride will form. Ammonium chloride is a salt. Then the next condition is 2 reactants and 2 products. So you can see there is 2 reactants and 2 products. So AgNO3 means silver nitrate plus sodium chloride. It will form AgCl, silver chloride plus NaNO3, sodium nitrate. So you always remember the chemical name of the element. You see, I am taking all the elements chemical name. So you have to remember the chemical name of the elements and formulas of the element. Next condition is 2 reactants and 3 or more products. Means reactant is 2 and product will be 3 or more. So the example is here, copper plus sulfuric acid. H2SO4 is sulfuric acid. Then it will form CuSO4, copper sulfate plus water plus sulfur dioxide, SO2. So these are conditions in which we can write the chemical reaction. Then there is one more important point, skeleton equation. What is skeleton equation? When there is a chemical equation but it is unbalanced, so we call that skeleton equation. Simply, the unbalanced equation is the skeleton equation. You can see the example, KNO3 potassium nitrate, then it will form KNO2 plus O2. So this reaction is unbalanced. So it is skeleton equation. So in your book, there are given so many skeleton equation. Then you have to balance those equations. So if the equation is unbalanced, we can say it is a skeleton equation. Then the next topic is balanced equation. So the first question arises in our mind is that why should we balance the equation? Why we balance the equation? I have already told you that the unbalanced equation is skeleton equation. So why we should balance the equation? What is the need to balance the equation? So there is a reason to follow the conservation of law of mass. We balance the equation because the conservation of law of mass should be valid. So you know very well what is the law of conservation of mass. It is that the total number of the total mass of the reactants and the total mass of the product will be same. There is no loss of mass. In simply words, matter cannot be destroyed and created. It always changes the states of the matter. So the total mass of the reactant is equal to the total mass of the product. So this is the law of conservation of mass. So to validate the law of conservation of mass, we always balance the equation. So you can see here is an example of some equation, calcium carbonate. It will form calcium oxide plus carbon dioxide. So you see, you count the atoms of the element on both sides. So in reactant side, you can see calcium has 1 atom. In product side, it has also 1 atom. Then carbon, reactant side, it is 1 atom, and the product side, it is also 1. So in this equation, the number of atoms of calcium, carbon and oxygen on both sides is the same. You can count in the equation. So it is the equation is balanced. So when there is any equation, we count the atoms. The atom should be same on both the side. If the atom same on both the sides, so the equation is balanced. Another example is potassium nitrate KNO3. It will form KNO2 plus O2. So in this equation, you can see the atom of oxygen on both sides is not the same. In reactant side, there is 3 oxygen atom, and in product side, there is 4 oxygen atom. 2 here, 2 in KNO2 plus O2. So this equation is not balanced, you can see. Because in reactant side there is 3 oxygen atom, and in product side there is 4 oxygen atom. So this equation is not balanced. So we can say this is the skeleton equation because this is not balanced. So to balance the equation, we multiply both sides with numerals, and I can explain you on this later topic. The next topic is how to balance a chemical equation. There are certain methods to balance the chemical equation. The first method is hit and trial method, and the second is partial equation method. So first we see the hit and trial method. How can we balance a chemical equation by hit and trial method? So this method, there are the following steps which we have to follow. First step is count the number of times an element occurs on either side. First we count the number of elements on the both side, reactant side as well as the product side. Then the element with the least frequency of occurrence is balanced first. This is the point to be noted, that the element which have the least frequency will balance first. That means we first balance the element with least frequency. If there are 2 or more elements have the same frequency, then we give preference to the metallic element. So I will explain you with an example, so this is clear to all of you. When there is 2 or more elements have the same frequency, have the least frequency, so what will we do? We give the preference to the metallic element. I will explain you this by an example. So you can see there is an example. We balance this equation by hit and trial method. So there is an example, copper plus sulfuric acid in reactant side, and in product side copper sulfate plus sulfur dioxide plus water. So first step, what is the first step? Step first is count the number of atoms on both sides. So we count the number of atoms. You can see element, we make the columns 3 columns, element, reactant side, product side. So element first is copper. In reactant side we can see 1 atom of copper, and product side 1 atom, so it is equal, no problem. Then hydrogen, in reactant side 2 atoms of hydrogen, in product side 2 atoms, it is balanced. Then we come to the sulfur, in reactant side 1 atom, in product side 2 atoms of sulfur. So we have to balance the sulfur. And oxygen, in reactant side 4 atom, in product side 7 atom. You can count the atoms and write. This is the first step. Make the 3 columns and write the atoms. So in this, we should follow the second step. The second step is that the element which has least frequency, we should balance it first. So here you can see the copper and hydrogen atom are balanced, and the sulfur atom has the least frequency. So first we balance the sulfur. So how we balance? We multiply with numerals on both sides to balance. Yes, so we come to the step third. So to equalize sulfur atom, multiple H2SO4 by 2. So we multiply H2SO4 by 2 to equalize the sulfur atoms. And after that we equalize hydrogen atom multiple H2O by 2. So this is the balance equation. You can see all the atoms in the reactant side and all the atoms are product side. Both are same. So this equation is balanced. So we have to do nothing. First we see which element has the least frequency, and if there is more element, we will balance first the metallic element. After that, we balance the equation by multiply with numerals. So this is the most common step which you have to follow in hit and trial method. So there is nothing, just find out the atoms on the both side, then multiply with numerals to balance the equation. So here you can see the equation is balanced. So this is the hit and trial method. The next method is partial equation method. So when we use the partial equation method, when the reaction is complex, when there is a complex reaction, we use the partial equation method for balancing the equation. So there are also two steps in this method. First, we split the equation into two simpler equations. Listen carefully. First, we split the equation into two simpler equation. Then we add the two simpler equation. Then we add the two equation. Then after that, we cancel the common species in them. And we will get the final equation which is balanced. So there are three steps in partial equation method. First step is that we split the equation into two simpler equations, and in second step we add both equations, and in third step we cancel the common species and we will get the final equation which is balanced. So here I am giving you an example and this will make you clear. Like in example, liberation of iodine from potassium iodide. This means potassium iodide is reactant and iodine is product. So liberation of iodine from potassium iodide by reacting it with hydrogen peroxide. So this is the reaction. So first we split the reaction into two simpler reaction. So you can see first reaction is H2O2. This is hydrogen peroxide. The formula of hydrogen peroxide is H2O2. Then H2O, water plus oxygen. So you can see that is nascent oxygen. In word equation, you can see water plus nascent oxygen. So what is nascent oxygen? Nascent oxygen which is liberated in the reaction and which cannot form covalent bond with another oxygen. You know, oxygen always present. Oxygen is a diatomic molecule. So always two atoms present in oxygen, but in nascent oxygen. This always liberated in the reaction and this oxygen will not form covalent bond with another oxygen. So this is called nascent oxygen. So the formula of H2O2 is hydrogen peroxide, then water plus nascent oxygen will form. This is reaction first. Then we come to the second reaction. Twice Ki plus H2O plus O. Ki means potassium iodide plus water plus oxygen. Then potassium hydroxide plus iodine is formed. So we split reaction into two simpler reactions. Then we add both reaction. You can see. Then we cancel the common species. What are the common species? H2O. You can see H2O in both reaction. First reaction there is a H2O and second reaction there is also a H2O. So we cancel H2O. Then we write the equation. So what will be the equation? Twice Ki plus H2O2 in reactant side, and what will rest in the product side? Twice KOH plus I2. We cancel H2O and O because these are the common species in both reaction. So we cancel H2O and O and we write what is rest in the reactant side and what is rest in the product side. So in reactant side you can see twice Ki plus H2O2 and in product side twice KOH plus I2. So this is the balanced reaction. So this method we call a partial equation method. So there are two methods, hit and trial and partial equation. I hope all of you understand this two types of equation, and you can balance chemical equation by any of this method. In complex reaction you use partial equation method, and in simple reaction you can use hit and trial methods. That the topic is limitation of chemical equations. So you can see what are the limitations of chemical equation. First is the physical state of the reactant and the product. whether the substance are solid, liquid or gas. So these are the limitation. The physical state, you know what is the meaning of the physical state? Solid, liquid or gas, which state in reactants and products. And the second, the time taken for the completion of the reaction. This is the limitation. Some reactions can completed in short time and some reaction take a long time. And the next point is whether heat is given out or absorbed during a reaction. You know very well, when heat is given out in the reaction, so it is called exothermic reaction. And when heat is absorbed during the reaction, it is called endothermic reaction. So this is the limitation of chemical reaction. The respective concentration of the reactants and products. So there is a certain concentration of the reactants and products. When it is disturbed, the chemical reaction will not be completed. The rate at which the reaction proceed, whether the reaction is reversible or irreversible. You know very well what is reversible reaction. In reversible reaction, we can get the reactant back. So there is reversible or irreversible. Whether the reaction is completed or it is not completed. So these all are the limitations of the chemical reaction. The next topic is relative atomic mass. It is very important topic. So what is the relative atomic mass? The relative atomic mass or atomic weight of an element is the number of times one atom of the element is heavier than 1 by 12 time of mass of atom of carbon 12. So what is the relative atomic mass? The number of times one atom of element is heavier than 1 by 12 times of the mass of the atom of carbon 12. So there is a formula you can see, relative atomic mass equal to mass of one atom of the element upon 1 by 12th mass of one carbon 12 atom. So this is the formula of the relative atomic mass. Relative atomic mass is defined as AMU. So the AMU is the unit of the atomic mass. What is the full form of AMU? Atomic mass unit. So we measure relative atomic mass in AMU. What is AMU? Atomic mass unit is defined as 1 by 12th mass of the carbon 12. And here is the numerical value is given. 1 AMU or we can say 1 U. We can write in the both forms AMU or U. So 1 AMU or 1 U equal to the 1.6605 into 10 raised to the power minus 24 gram. So this is the numerical value of 1 AMU. All of you have to remember this value or have learned this value. 1 AMU equal to 1.6605 into 10 raised to the power minus 24 gram. So remember this numerical value of 1 AMU. The next topic is relative molecular mass or we can say molecular weight. The relative molecular mass of an element or a compound is the number that represents how many times one molecule of the substance is heavier than 1 by 12 of the mass of a carbon atom of 12. So the relative molecular mass is obtained by adding together. How can we find out the relative molecular mass of an compound? So the relative molecular mass is obtained by adding together the relative atomic mass of the various atoms present in a molecule. Here I am giving you the example. So by the help of this example, all of you get it. So the example is sulfuric acid. Suppose we have to find out the relative molecular mass of sulfuric acid. So we count the relative molecular mass of each element. One molecule of sulfuric acid has 2 atoms of hydrogen. You can see one molecule of sulfuric acid, there is a 2 atom of hydrogen, 1 atom of sulfur and 4 atoms of oxygen. So mass of 2 hydrogen atom, we know the atomic mass of the hydrogen is 1. So for find out the molecular weight, you have to remember the atomic number and atomic masses of the element. If you know the atomic number and atomic mass, so you can calculate easily the molecular weight. Like look here, the mass of 2 hydrogen atom. So we know the atomic mass of the hydrogen is 1. So 1 multiplied by 2 equal to 2 AMU. and the mass of one atom of sulfur, we know the atomic mass of sulfur is 32 and the atomic number is 16. So that is 32 AMU. Mass of 4 oxygen atom, we know the atomic mass of oxygen is 16. So 16 multiplied by 4, that is 64 AMU. So total molecular weight of the sulfuric acid is, we add all this, 2 plus 32 plus 64. 2 plus 32 plus 64. We add all this molecular weight and that is 98 AMU. So the molecular weight of the sulfuric acid is 98 AMU. So in this way we find out the molecular weight of any molecule. We find the molecular weight of the each atom and then we add all these molecular weights and we find out the total molecular weight. So I hope in this example all of you understand how we find out the relative molecular mass or molecular weight. In your book there is a lot of example of to find out the relative molecular weight. So go through it, solve it. So this can help you to learn how to find out the molecular weight of the elements. Then the next topic is percentage composition. In this topic we find out the percentage of the elements. Like percentage composition of a compound is the percentage by weight of each element present in it. Percentage of element in a compound equal to total weight of element in one molecule upon gram molecular weight of the compound into 100. So this is the formula. If we find out the percentage composition, we apply this formula to the elements. The total percentage of the element is a compound is 100. So there is an example. With the help of this example, you can understand how we find out the percentage composition. Calculate percentage of hydrogen in water. We have to calculate the percentage of hydrogen in water. How much percentage of hydrogen present in water molecule? So here is the solution. How can we find out the relative molecular mass of water? I have taught you in the previous slide how to find out the molecular weight. So when we go to find the molecular weight of water is, that means 2 hydrogen atom and 1 oxygen atom. So 2 plus 16. So the molecular weight of hydrogen is 18. Since 18 gram of water contains 2 gram of hydrogen, 100 grams of water contain 2 by 18 into 100, that is 11.11 gram of hydrogen. You can see how it is simple. You just put the value in the formula and you will get the answer. So it is very simple to find out the percentage of any atom in molecule. So yes, it is very simple and I hope all of you understand with this example. So the answer is 11.11. So 11.11 gram hydrogen. In this book there is also another examples to find out the percentage composition. So just go through it and solve all the examples. Yes. Our last topic is empirical formula is a compound. What is the empirical formula? So the empirical formula of a compound is the formula which gives the simplest whole number ratio of atom of different elements present in one molecule of the compound. So in simply way we can say empirical formula give the whole ratio of different elements present in one compound. Here I am giving you an example. So with this example you can understand easily. Like the formula of hydrogen peroxide. We know the formula of hydrogen peroxide is H2O2. And if we want to find out the empirical formula of H2O2, so the empirical formula of H2O2 is HO, because 2 atom of hydrogen and 2 atom of oxygen both are same, so both is cancelled. So what will rest? HO. So it gives the simplest ratio 1:1. So this is the empirical formula. I am giving you the another example like the formula of glucose. All of you know the formula of glucose is C6H12O6. So we cancel C6H12O6, 6 to the 12. So 1:12. 2:1 is the empirical formula. Just divide the values. C6H12O6, 6 2s are 12, 1:2:1. So it gives the simplest ratio between the atoms in its molecule. So empirical formula is very simple. There is nothing. It gives the simplest ratio, and I'm also explaining you with the two example. So here your first chapter is completed. I have completed your first chapter, and you can see after this chapter there is a exercise. First see on page number 18, 19 and 20 there is exercise. So go through the exercises. If you find it difficulty or any queries, so let me know. I will give you the solution, but just go through the exercise, so you will come to know how much have you learned from this topic. And if you have any doubt, watch video again and again, so your doubt will be clear. If you have any query or doubt, please first you watch video, then your doubt I think clear. And if there is difficulty, so let me know. I will give you the solution. So go through the exercise and try to solve the exercise at least. Okay, and this is all for the day. So thank you. Have a nice day.